And this is one of the best platformers games ever. Except for this guy, everything is great. No surprise, it's a game of the year contender. That said, what makes this game actually fun is its mechanics and how it uses the controller. Let me show you what I mean. In the very first level, you get the Octoballoon gadget, which essentially turns you into a pufferfish and fills you with helium, I think, so you can fly. And if that did not blow your mind, watch this. The frog gloves. With these, you can punch those enemies. You'll also need these gloves for extending some platforms and jumping to the next one. Now, there are some gadgets that actually changes the gameplay drastically. Look at this for example. You jump on an armadillo bot, which allows you to travel over spikes, but changes don't stop there. Since you're rolling instead of walking, the game turns into a rush level where you're constantly moving and trying to avoid obstacles. You can also use the armadillo like a cannonball to take out the enemies. The next gadget, the Bulldog, boosts you in any direction. It helps you jump to far platforms, you can also break glasses and kill enemies with it. But it's not all about killing in Astro Bot. Fairly early on the game, you get the monkey arms, which you can use for climbing, swinging, punching buttons, opening chests, carrying and throwing a huge boulder, and throwing smaller rocks at enemies. When you climb or swing, the monkey arms also require you to tilt and move the controller in sync with your actions. You will get what I mean when you play it. The next one is one of my favorite gadgets, the mouse. With this gadget, you shrink down like you're in Alice in Wonderland, or more accurately, like in It Takes Two. The cool thing is, you can shrink down and get bigger again on demand. Elephant suction is another gadget with multiple purposes. It sucks up elements and creates platform for a few seconds to jump on. There are 4 different types of elements. One creates green lush, one creates cement, one creates a jumping platform, and the last one creates a small ice skating platform. Now, this is my favorite gadget in the game, time control. I have to admit, these levels aren't the easiest, but if you can time it right, it is one of the most satisfying. You basically slow the time so you can pass through the fast-moving obstacles and platforms. It's also fun to see those enemies in slow motion, and yes, including dolphins. The next gadget makes you practically indestructible. It turns you into a steel ball, allowing you to roll over spikes and survive getting smashed by platforms. The game has also small volcanoes that launches you across the map. When you're in a steel ball form, you can find holes in the walls that you couldn't access before. And this gadget for underwater levels, the penguin. It's like an underwater jet ski. It lets you speed through the water and you can use the momentum to jump higher from the water. It's fun, but I think there are only 1 or 2 levels that uses this mechanics. Now, the chicken is similar to the bulldog. The difference is that the chicken only boosts you upwards. It can also be used to take out enemies then push objects in your way. You will see this gadget in multiple levels. It's simple and fun one. Okay, so this one is slightly different. Unlike the previous gadget, this one is a default skill in some levels. You control the direction of the fan to raise and lower the platforms. The gadget is not very easy at first, but it's been used in a few different levels, so the game is also training you slowly. The last gadget is very similar to the monkey arms. This time, the monkey holds dumbbells and uses them to interact with platforms. Mechanically, it's similar to the fan control ability. Now let's talk about the transformations. These levels are generally secret levels that transform your bot into a well-known video game character and let you use their weapon. I'll start with my absolute favorite one. I could play the entire game with this transformation. You probably guessed it right. Nathan Drake's transformation. This level is really fun. I think it has a lot to do with the weapon range. It makes the game feel like an easy shooter, but don't sleep on it. Astro Bot balances this transformation very well. It might be easy to kill enemies, but they increase the number of the enemies and add jumping platforms. So avoiding enemies' shots is still challenging. Another long-range transformation is Aloy from Horizon. Aloy uses her bow and arrow, and when you aim, time slows down. So it's not hard to hit the targets, especially with auto aim, but once again, the game balances very well. The next one gives me mixed feelings. We transform into Kratos from God of War, which is great. You can use Kratos' axe and throw it to freeze enemies, but I think it could have been more fun if we had something else from Kratos, like Blades of Chaos. That said, I will take this though. What I wouldn't mind not having is the Monkey Stalker transformation in the Apes on the Loose level. You need to find the apes and catch them. Some apes are hiding in the bushes. The only way to reveal them is by using the detector. Others are running around like chickens. Yeah, let's move on. The next transformation turns you into a sponge, but it's more like a King Kong than SpongeBob. You observe water and get bigger. In your big form, you can basically destroy everything except fire enemies. For fire enemies, you can spray the water you observe to put out the fire. It's an interesting one, but it took some time to figure out how to aim the water. Yet, it still feels like a random when it comes to spraying. The last transformation adds a new dimension to the game. You turn into a giant ball, at first moving by tilting the controller. Then, you divide yourself into smaller balls and control them. Tilting the controller and directing them is really fun, but it only appears in one level. Now that we've talked about the gadgets and transformation, let's quickly cover the controller abilities, which adds great details to the game. The first one is touch bar. It's one of the first mechanics you see in the game. It may take a minute to understand, but it's really simple. Just slide left and right to find the right square to push. How do you know which one is the right one? You will feel the vibration when you are on it. The second one is a water gun. It's kind of like trying to pee when you're drunk. It's not very accurate, but hitting target's general area will get the job done. This thrower, ninja knife, sucking trashes, spotlight all use the same mechanics. Tilt the controller and use them. The spaceship is slightly different. It's like one of those mobile games you see on Instagram, but this one is not clickbait. It's genuinely a great level. And the last one is let's use blow the controller. That's all I will say about it. Finally, let's talk about the one-time weapons. Firstly, we get a magnet. You collect the metal pieces around, throw them at a target. It's mainly used for moving platforms. Then there is a flower stem, which gives you a one-time jump boost. Next one is bulb. You can either throw it to the ghost or use it to see invisible platforms. And this one is tough. One of the levels that uses the water spraying dog, and it can be really challenging. You have an automatic water spraying dog and you need to cool down the lava so you can walk on it. But the dog doesn't last long, so you have to rush. This level might make you want to throw your controller at the screen. The last one, and my favorite item, is the time slowing item. Remember the time slowing gadget? This is the same thing, but it's one-time use only. You will find several of these one in the same level. There are many more mechanics in this game. The bottom line is, I think the variety makes Astro Bot one of the best, if not the best platformer games out there. That said, it's still too early. Let's see if we will say Old Bot Gold for Astro Bot in the future.